is creating a genocide. This is where we are right now.
Yeah, you have the U.S. completely engaged, if not it being, I know a lot of people say Ukraine is Trump's war now. What's happening in Gaza, the genocide there is certainly lays at the feet of Donald Trump, as you said. I want your assessment of this in the framework of how the United States is mired in a genocidal war on the one hand, is mired in a losing World War III, potential sparking conflict in Ukraine, potential nuclear conflict over Ukraine. Peter Navarro, a notorious anti-China hawk who now is an advisor to Trump's manufacturing and trade division. He had this to say about India, because right now there's a lot of panic about China, Russia, India getting closer.
Is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money. So everybody in America loses because of what India is doing. The consumers and businesses and everything lose, and workers lose because India's high tariffs cost us jobs and factories and income and higher wages. And then the taxpayers lose because we got to fund Modi's war. Okay. The road to peace runs at least partly right through New Delhi.
We've heard this with China, right? Ukraine is China's war because China keeps trading with Russia. But there is a bigger panic afoot. Modi and Xi Jinping are working on potential détente between each other to ease relations between the two countries, historic in some ways. And of course, Russia and China are closer than ever.
I almost thank Trump and Peter Navarro for uniting the world. Okay, it's uniting the world against the U.S., but still it's uniting the world. They are such dumbos. Navarro is he's an idiot. Sorry. And what they have done within the last couple of weeks is to blow up years of U.S.-India relations. Now, I always told the Indians, my friends, I have so many colleagues and friends that I discuss this with, that the U.S. is completely untrustworthy. There's no such thing as a trusting alliance with the United States. And I advised India always don't side with the U.S. against China. That's reckless. It's a fool's errand. It's playing the U.S. hegemonic game. It's not in India's interest. Well, I can just say Peter Navarro and Trump have made my case in the most direct and obvious way in the last couple of weeks. I've been speaking to a lot of very senior Indian officials, to the media, to business leaders. They broke the U.S.-India relations over this. It's not only Navarro's idiotic statements that this is Modi's war. It is the 25% so-called penalty tariff, which the Indians notice, thank you, and the closer relations of China and India were already underway for several months because that makes a lot of sense for both of them. But the flurry of activity that has followed Trump's tariff measures against Brazil and against India has been something to behold. And I have beheld it fairly close up. Brazil, India, China, and Russia have been in a tremendous round of high-level diplomacy in the last couple of weeks of defense ministers, foreign ministers, head of state visits.
A lot has been made of the consequences of how this impacts U.S. Dollar hegemony and overall the unipolar world. And it appears that the Ukraine conflict, Gaza, continuing escalations with Iran, all of this is diminishing U.S. standing and benefiting BRICS to a great degree.
I don't know what's falling faster, Trump, Starmer, Macron, and Mertz's approval ratings, or the standing of those countries in the world, or the U.S. economy, or the role of the dollar. They're all on the way down. This is a failed policy. It makes no sense. There is no strategy. There is no thought. There is a complete failure to recognize that there's a big world out there and the Western world can't just boss it around. Let me put some numbers on the table. There are 335 million Americans. There are about 450 million in the European Union, another 55 to 60 million in Britain, and you add that up, it's a little more than 10% of the world population. That's it. They talk to themselves. They have their meetings. They make threats to the rest of the world. They impose sanctions. They're divided among themselves because Trump's at a trade war with everybody. But aside from that, this 10% of the world thinks still that it runs the show. Trump, who represents these 335 million people, or 4.1% of the world population, thinks that he by himself runs the world. It's all a delusion. It's all failing. It is all shocking to the rest of the world. Even if you take Gaza, by the way, at least 180 of the 193 UN member states are strongly in favor of a state of Palestine in the United Nations. Many will recognize that just in the next 3 or 4 weeks. The U.S. stands almost alone with Israel, Vanuatu, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, a couple of others. That's about it. So the United States is becoming more and more isolated. And how does it handle that isolation? It denies visas to people that it doesn't want to hear from. That's further isolation. It puts on tariffs. That's further isolation. It resents the rest of the world. Well, we don't need the rest of the world. Well, actually, the United States does need the rest of the world. So all of this is a completely failed approach by the United States. And the failures, I think, are becoming evident everywhere.
Some see the killing in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, the ability of the U.S. to maintain this large military apparatus, even throwing around tariffs and sanctions as being a sign of strength. But you just said that it's actually furthering isolation. Is this the beginning of the end of the U.S. empire's dominance and hegemony? And what comes next?
There is no hegemony. We're in a multipolar world. The United States cannot defeat Russia. The United States cannot defeat China. The United States cannot defeat India, by the way. There are many great powers. Nuclear arms is also a great equalizer. This is not a world that the United States can run with its 4.1% of the world population. And incidentally, let's recall, Trump is a highly unpopular figure. He has, in the most recent survey data of the last couple of days, 37% approval rating, 55% disapproval rating. So he doesn't even rule the United States. He, in his delusion and his executive orders, thinks he does, but he doesn't even have the backing of a majority of the American people. Far from it. So in this sense, we're already in a multipolar world, but we can't take too much cheer from that, because the amount of destruction, the mass murders, the starvation of 2 million people underway in Gaza, the fact of nuclear weapons means this is all extraordinarily dangerous. We need something more than multipolarity. We need the basic decency of how to live together. And that the United States lacks to this moment. That is an internal failure, not the objective reality of the world. That is a Washington mindset that Washington still runs the world. And that is very, very dangerous to have that kind of delusion.